Today's episode is brought to you by Modern Grower, a proud retailer of the Sumi Soaker system. The Sumi Soaker system is an irrigation game changer. It offers multiple advantages for market gardeners. Even gentle watering without dry spots common with wobblers. The system is lightweight and portable, so you can use it with quick rotation crops. It's low maintenance with no parts to break or clog. It's versatile. You can use it for direct seeding, transplants, and cover crops. And it's very cost effective compared to overhead options. And maybe one of its best and most unique features is it can put down water in a rectangular pattern, which is very different than rotating sprinklers that leave circular patterns, often with dry corners and overwatered centers. If you want to learn more about the Sumi Soaker system, use the link below or visit us at shop.moderngrower.co.
Thinking compost tea here are some of the big mistakes potentially. One, adding too much molasses or any molasses, which is something I personally know I've done in the past. You've mentioned it. I've heard Dr. Elaine mention it, that there's already enough bacteria there. You probably don't need to breed them out. So adding molasses, not a lot of bang there for your buck in terms of what you're going for. Two, brewing too long. And then three would be using soils where you're potentially introducing pathogens into the mix. Any other big mistakes you see people make?
Water quality is the only other thing I can think of. I mean, you really need to start with good water quality. Even people talk about this on just watering their garden. You know, when you're using water from a tap, if you're in city water, it's going to have any amount of chlorine or chloramine, and that chlorine or chloramine is put into the water to go through the pipes and kill any bacteria that might be collected along the way so that we don't consume any of that. And in that same sense, that chlorine or chloramine is going to be working against any of the biology that we're trying to grow because we're trying to enhance these bacteria. So you want to off-gas water or treat that chlorine or chloramine. If you're using tap water, say, you get your 5-gallon bucket out, you fill it up with water from your tap. You can let it sit out for 2 days to off-gas that, 2 days or more to off-gas that. You also want to be getting your water to ambient temperature. I'm gonna come back around to that in a second here. So you can off-gas it in a couple days by letting your water sit out. You can put your air pump on there and let it sit for 12 to 24 hours, and that should off-gas by bubbling it. It'll increase the rate of the off-gassing, and you should be able to off-gas that chlorine or chloramine in a matter of 12 to 24 hours. Or if you aren't able to do that, you can use humic acid. And again, because I don't have a chemistry background, I'm not able to describe how this works. But there's something about humic acid and any acid that it binds to the ions of the chlorine or chloramine and ties up like one of the oxygens or something. I don't know. I'm not even going to give you a wrong answer, but there's something about it that it ties up chlorine and chloramine. So you can use humic acid to tie up any of that chlorine or chloramine. And it really takes a minimal amount. According to Elaine, you just need to put enough humic acid into the water where the water even just becomes tinted brown. So that's like 5 to 10 drops of humic acid. But I'm normally using, a tablespoon in a 5-gallon brew. So that treat that. Like I said, I just wanted to mention, like with brewing, you want your water at ambient temperature. And when you're brewing compost tea, you want to brew at the same ambient temperature that you're applying it to the plants. So if you've got a greenhouse that you're wanting to apply plants to, don't brew it outside and then bring the water into your greenhouse. Or don't brew in the air conditioning of your house and then bring it outside into 90-degree weather. And you may have heard Elaine talk about this. She was working with, I think it was the Bellagio. It was one of the places in Las Vegas that she had consulted with. They had a great brew program going. Landscape looked fabulous. And then the summer came and they started having a bunch of issues that they thought was a result of the compost tea. And so she questioned them, couldn't figure out what it was. And then she went there. Finally, they paid her to come out and check out what was going on. Well, they had moved their brew operation from the outside to an air conditioning environment for their own comfort. And they were brewing, in the 70s and then taken it out into a desert and having issues. So you won't always brew at the same ambient temperature as what you are applying it to your plants.
Yeah, I think the water is an interesting point, and that's something through all my experiences, I've seen people really freak out about the amount of chlorine, chloramine in the water. And my unscientific opinion is there's not enough in there to matter. You're putting so much compost in relative to the amount of water that bacteria is going to outcompete the chlorine. It's just like if you had a 5-gallon bucket full of water, go to the bathroom in that 5-gallon bucket. I'm not going to be confident in drinking that water. That chlorine is going to kill anything in there. So, I mean, those are my thoughts on that. But people, they freak out about too much chlorine in the water. But I think you're right. You just bubble it, and that solves that problem if you're worried about it.
And I'm kind of the same opinion as you. I feel like usually the chlorine's not going to have that much of a detrimental effect on the biology because we've got so much biology. But you never know how much. I mean, like if you smell chlorine, there's a lot in there, and it's good to treat it. So yeah, and because you're using humic acid as a food anyway, you're likely tying that chlorine up. Like it's not usually a factor that I am extremely concerned about. But it's good to focus on water quality. And if you can use rainwater, even better.
Use the best that you have available and then do the best you can with what you have.
Today's episode is brought to you by Modern Grower. Modern Grower is your source for time and labor-saving farm tools, such as the Paper Pot Transplanter, Quick Click Seeder, and the Jang Direct Seeder. Turn laborsome tasks into free time with tools by Modern Grower.